cloud. All right, so it's recording to the cloud, and now I'm going to take it to Facebook. No. Okay, so it should be starting. So just keep smiling.
Come on, Eric. There you go. Cheesy smile. Cheesy smile.
I think we're good.
Hold on. Check out Eric Hyde and Gail. Come on. Gail. Are you breaking down case studies?
Yeah, I'm just doing one in detail. Yeah.
Down a case study. Break down a case study. All right, we're going live. Hold on. Wait for you should see the go live button up in the corner. Just keep smiling.
It says live on
live.
All right.
Give us a count.
I don't have a count.
3, 2, 1. No, I don't.
What says it's live? Go.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. You've tuned into this episode of the Note Closer Show podcast with Eric Hyde and Gail Villanueva. And as you can see, we're not Scott Carson. So today, Eric is going to go through and break down a case study, start to finish, on what he did for one particular note. Go ahead, Eric.
Good morning, Gail. How you doing today?
Fabulous. I hope you're doing just the same.
I'm sitting in my backyard in Torrance. It's normally sunny, Torrance, California, but today got a little overcast, but I'm good. Cup of coffee. We'll talk about, you and I talked last night and we thought, well, what should we talk about today? I want to put out some good content. And I know in the last couple of weeks, a group of us have co-hosted Scott's podcast like we are this morning. And there's been a lot of good content, and I didn't want to duplicate a lot of the things that people were saying. So I thought, what do people want to hear? So I think when it gets down to it, people want to see numbers. They want to know how notes are doing, the return on investment. What's the real world situation? So
right.
I took a look at one of mine last night. It's a recent one that I marketed out a few months ago. And so I thought I would just break it down. Is that good with that, Gail?
Sounds great. Absolutely great. Because a lot of people wonder, how do we find these notes? How do we decide what is a good note? And then also what the semantics are behind finding that note and making the deal work. But most of all, I think you're going to also touch on finding JV partners and how that all goes too, right?
Yeah. So this morning, I'm going to talk about one deal. Just keep it simple. But in doing so, I'm going to talk about the marketing that went behind it, the finding of a JV partner, and sort of what that entails with me and JVing with me, which I don't think it's going to be too different from with you or someone else, but this just might answer some of those questions. But
right.
And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to share my screen in just a little bit, so you have a visual. You don't just have to hear me talking the whole time.
Great.
Look at my hot tub in the background, but
nice hot tub.
Yeah, it doesn't even work anymore. I'm actually going to give that thing away for free because someone's going to have to get a crane and take it out of here. So, all right, now here to talk about spas. But so before I get into this note deal, I want to talk a little bit about my marketing. And I know we've had a segment on marketing. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel or touch on the same thing they talked about. But for me, I don't buy big pools. I'm just a onesie twosie kind of guy. So for me, buying a note, I then look for a JV partner on that note. So I market out a particular deal. And so throughout my whole life, I've always been kind of different. If everybody's zigging, I like to zag, or at least I like to look in that zag direction, right? And
right.
So in the note world, personalities are similar, and I don't want to say that we're all stuffy people, but at the same time, there's not a lot of variances in how marketing is done. So I thought, and actually this was Gail Greenberg and I last year, we had a note that we had to sell as a performer. It would be a good way to do it. Let's do it a little different. And I decided, let me just do a video. And I made a fun video and I posted it out and it sold that week. So I realized, hey, there's something to this. And I'm not seeing a lot of marketing videos of people selling notes or even marketing themselves with video. There's people out there doing it, don't get me wrong, but I wanted to do something different. And so the reason why I'm sharing this is that, I know there's a lot of note investors, a lot of newer note investors that are listening right now.
Yep.
I want to challenge you guys to start thinking outside the box. I want to challenge you guys to start thinking about how to do things different. If what you're doing is working, then so be it. If there's no need to change it, then don't change it. But I know there's a lot of people out there looking for solutions and how do I do this? How do I do that? Think outside the box. And so one of the things I started doing, and it's funny, I don't know, Gail, have you seen that show? My wife watches it all the time. It's one of those fix and flip shows. It's Chip Gaines and his wife. Do you know that show?
Well, actually, I hadn't really watched them, but they actually destroyed my business model for doing fix and flips myself. If I had $1 million worth of
All right.
sponsorship and I had, do a deal in like 48 hours, sure. Yeah, no. I kind of swayed away from them because it wasn't to me reality.
Well, yeah. Sure. Yeah. And by no means, I'm not a fix and flipper. I've never been a fix and flipper, but I bring them up as an example because one of the things that they do, each deal that they put out, they name the house. I don't know if you know that. They name the house and Chip Gaines will go through and go, we call this house the hot tub house or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So I decided to start naming my deals, right? Put a name to it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys remember, one of the deals that I had marketed out, I called it Paying in Dayton, right? And I made a video right here in my backyard, the little selfie. Hey, what's up, Eric Hyde, Paying in Dayton, And I named it, and I've done a couple other deals since then where I named the deal, which makes it kind of fun because let's face it, in this business, if you're not having fun, you got to have fun while you're doing this.
Right.
We're all here to make money, but we're all here for different reasons. And for me, yes, I'm here to make money, which equals freedom and more time with my kids, but have some fun in the meantime. And for me, making videos is fun.
Yeah.
So, make some good videos, have some fun, think outside the box. In fact, I'm going to throw this out here to everybody who's watching, the thousands and thousands of people that are watching right now. If you guys are too shy to make a video, but you have a deal you want to market out, let me know. I'll help you out, right? I just thought of that right now. So, it's going to cost you, but if you want to go that route, hit me up. We can do something. So before I go to my screen share, one of the things that I do when I look at a deal is what are the compensating factors in this deal, right? So Paying in Dayton, the compensating factor was the pay history. There was a payment the month I was reviewing the tape. So if there's a payment the month I'm reviewing the tape, there's a good chance somebody's living there, right? So I highlighted that, right? I highlighted the compensating factors. So I look at each deal and I look at the compensating factor and I mark it to that. Mm-hmm. And it seems to work. So I'm gonna get into. Do you have any questions right now, Gail? I know I'm rambling and babbling, but that's just how I do it.
No, it's going along just great.
All right. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to my share screen here. Hopefully
and everybody can watch me while you're doing that. Hi, everybody. Yeah.
Okay. So can you? I think we can see the screen there.
We can see you also.
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to break it down. This is Paying in Dayton. This was a tape I received back in end of February, early March. Mm-hmm. And the unpaid principal balance was $42,400. Fair market value was $35,000. I'll get to in a minute how I got to that. And the P&I was $368 per month. Okay, principal and interest $368 a month. Right? I don't care about taxes, insurance, the payment, because that's not how I make my money. That's not where I get my return. It's principal and interest. So in just looking at those three things, those meet my criteria. And here's what I mean. The fair market value of $35,000. Generally speaking, when I do my due diligence, if it's under $25,000, I don't look at it, right?
Right. So that's mine too.
Right. And I know a lot of people who are students of Scott's, they follow that same model. It makes sense. Not to say that I haven't done some below that level, but I just find obviously as I move forward in time, I need to go higher value assets, at least have this minimum. So it meets my fair market value. And I don't go off of what the seller says. You always want to make sure that you verify your values. Zillow, truly a realtor. Sure, that maybe gives you a snapshot, but you need to get a realtor, you need to get eyes on the property, and you need a BPO to tell you what they think, the expert in that area, what's the value of this house, right? And that's where I came up with this fair market value of $35,000. Okay, 368 monthly P&I. I filter out anything less than $200. And even so, I'm starting to bump that up. If the P&I payment is less than $200, especially on a JV deal, there's nothing sexy about receiving $100, a month for your note that is now performing. So I like to put some meat on the bone. I like to be able to offer my investor, a decent, not just a good return, but fair chunk of money.
Right.
So, sort of moving on, I mentioned the payment, right? The last payment. Now, this was on the original tape. It had last payment of March of 18. So to me, that was huge. I actually filtered through recent payments. I eliminate anything where there's not been a payment in the last year. Everybody's strategy is different. And I think you do the same thing, Gail. What's your time frame on last payments?
12 months or less. I mean, if you've had one payment in 12 months, that's kind of borderline for me if I want to pursue it.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
Yeah, I look at 12 months worth of history and see what they've been doing, and they've got to have a payment in there. Yes.
Right. Exactly. And that's and for those who may not know, the reason for that is if my number one exit strategy is the reinstatement, get them reperforming. So I want confirmation that there's somebody in the home. Right. The payment was 2 years ago. It's not to say that's not a good deal, but chances are it might be an REO, which you might still make money, but you eliminate half your exit strategies right there on the spot. So payment in March of 2018 tells me it's occupied. So if you look at the slide here, this is actually one of the marketing pieces I did. You see in the background, sort of a picture of the house. On the side there, a picture. What I did is I highlighted this payment, because if I'm marketing for a JV on this, I don't need all this fine print of all these different things. I want to highlight something that's important that an investor is going to say, well, why would I invest in this? Aha, occupied. Last payment was this month. There's a good chance it's reperforming. Okay. Right. So those are the numbers. All right, we'll move on to the next.
Go back to the next slide for a second, please.
Go back to the next slide.
The obvious thing that I know people are probably going to ask is, why are you looking at a UPB that is higher than the fair market value?
Because there's a couple reasons for that. So if it's upside down, the beauty in that is that there's a better chance you're going to work it out with the borrower, right? There's incentive for them to stay in the home, because as you'll see in my next couple slides, this P&I payment of $368 is lower than the current rents. The rents in the area are $650. So if I can work with them and even eliminate some of this, I mean, remember, I'm the lender. I can negotiate how much they owe. I might decide, fine, we'll do a loan mod. We'll do, for every dollar you pay, I'll wipe out $1. Whatever the case is, there's room I can work with. They were underwater. Now they're feeling better about it. There's motivation for them to stay in this home where they're paying $368. It might be closer to $500 because there's taxes and insurance, but so that's why negative equity. It being upside down is a good one.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't throw out the ones like that too, but I'm sure that somebody would ask, well, why would he go after that? But
sure.
Thank you for that explanation. I do the same thing.
Yeah. All right, next slide here. Now, so I talked about the numbers, the initial numbers, right? Now I'm looking at the house. Okay, so 3-bedroom, 1 bath, single family residence, over 1,200 square feet. Okay, this is just your bread and butter traditional home. That's what I.
Thank you for that explanation.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm trying to do some things at once.
Facebook off now.
It is. I was trying to see if we had any questions, and I screwed up.
It's all good. Story of my life.
You're doing great.
All right, so 3-bedroom, 1 bath, over 1,200 square foot. This is sort of the bread and butter. This is what I like. Reason being is if I ever take this house back, it's marketable, right? Selling a 1-bedroom, 1 bath home is there's a smaller market for that. Not to say that there's not money to be made there. In fact, one of the first ones I did was a 1-bedroom, 1 house, 1-bedroom, 1 bath. I still own it, and I'm actually making on a return level. It's probably one of my higher returns. But I traditionally just go for the 3-bedroom, 3 and 2, 3 and 1. The crime in the area is low. Market rents are 650, and the taxes are current. So it's important when you do your due diligence, right? High crime areas, get rid of them. Again,
Right.
not to say you're not going to make money there, but there's just more to deal with. There's enough assets out there where you can find, low crime, and you're not
Right.
dealing with a gang hood or, drugs being sold or things like that. Market rents, 650, right? If I end up taking this house back, the reason why this is important is if I take this house back, I got several options. Sell it as is, fix it up, sell it, or rent it out. And I put this into my ROI calculator, and knowing part of my exit strategy is, or when I'm talking to the borrower outreach, if their payment is less than the rents, that's incentive for them to stay in the home and pay. Because again, if we got to foreclose, they're going to have to go rent something and pay more money. So I use that to my advantage. And so the due diligence is you got to know what market rents are, right? And I go a couple things. I use Rentometer is a good one to go to. And then obviously I talk to my realtor. They know the best thing. That's why realtors are so important.
Yes,
and obviously
they are.
Taxes are current. Another indication that somebody's in the home. Gail, do you use for rents? How do you go about finding your rent values? Do you do the same thing?
We use Rentometer. It's really pretty good, but I do have to make a comment as a realtor too. Zillow, maybe go to realtor.com or also Trulia. They have more accurate numbers. Right. Is what I'm finding.
Yep. You know what I do actually when I plug in my address when I'm doing my due diligence, I don't go directly to Zillow or Realtor. What I do is I just put it in the bar up top. And I hit enter, and it gives me those. So then I click on the link, I look at it, I go back, I click on it, and that seems to work for me as opposed to typing in each address and each location. I know everybody does a little different, but that works for me. Yeah. All right, here we go. Now the city, right? So we got the numbers, we got the house. Now the city, is it a crappy area? Is it a population of 1,000? What's the city like, right? So Dayton. What I like about Dayton is population over 800,000, right? So plenty of people to choose from, to rent, to sell, realtors, job growth. So when I pick a market, I dive deeper into the city, right? So job growth is actually going up in Dayton, not significantly, but it is going up. Unemployment rates are dropping, and then household income is going up. So it meets those criteria of the different technicals that I look at in each city. So then moving on and see, and again, this is my marketing slide. So to a potential investor, they want to know, why are we investing in this city? So University of Dayton, the crime map, and then the jobs. You got the Air Force, you got Premier Health, Cancer Network is out there. So there's jobs, there's growth, there's a university. So there's just a variety of economic indicators that tell me that this is a good area to invest in. So I'm going to move on. And then now finally the investment itself, right? So we got the city, we got the numbers, we got the house, and now the actual investment. So I put out what I'm looking for, right? In this example, I actually bought the note for, it's actually a contract for deed, 11.5. But for all-in funding, $15,000. I just put up, investors want to know what's in it for me, right? I don't do a lot of, I've seen some of these flyers where there's all sorts of narrative and this, that. No. Here's what the investors want to know, right? A potential JV partner. How much does it cost me? How much am I going to get? And how do we exit? That's it. How much is it going to cost me? How much am I going to make? How do I get my money back, right?
That's what they want to know.
It, right? They don't care about my favorite color or my spa or whatever, right? $15,000 investment. Potential, right? Never guarantee an interest rate. I mean, a return. Potential ROI of 44.27 based on the P&I payment. If I get them to reinstate, that's what we're looking at. After 12 months, sell this as a performer. And then I throw in the potential net profit. I don't get into all the details about how I got there, but it's enough to spark the conversation, the phone call, the email. Hey, Eric, cool. This one looks good. Now let's dive deeper. And that's where the conversation comes in. So for those marketing a deal, speak to the investor about what you think they want to hear how they're going to make their money, and then pick up the phone, or, you know, when they call or email or reach out, because hopefully you're not just blasting this to the world, you're putting this out to your network of investors.
Right.
And as we do this business, we're all plate spinners, marketing, deal sourcing, reaching out, building a team. And one of the things we do is building this database of investors that you can then, when you get a deal, you put it out to them. And so that's the investment. I'm gonna move on. Now we want to know about this actual deal. How's it doing? What are the timelines? I get a lot of phone calls from people, hey, I bought this note. It's taking forever. What do I do? Here's what to expect. This is pretty typical with what I've found.
I am very glad you're talking about this, Eric, because people that are starting out in the business, or as your JV partners that you're taking on, think it's cut and dry and it's immediate. And I'm glad that you're going to discuss and talk about the timelines. This is great.
Yeah, it's like watching paint dry. I swear to you, it's the fun, the excitement. I got a tape. I'm looking. I'm reviewing. I got assets. Let's do this. Let's make a bid. Let's make some money. We put in the offer. We fund it, and then we wait.
Yes.
And it's like watching paint dry. That's why and so it's important if you're JVing with people, right? If you're taking people's money, you got to communicate with them, right? You got to set the expectations, set a realistic expectation, right? So I don't tell them, hey, we funded it. We're gonna get a first payment next week. No. Here's what it looks like. This is pretty accurate. So on this particular deal, we funded this on March 21st. It was boarded about 3 weeks later on April 11th. It was actually boarded on April 11th. Now, one of the things that I do, and I recommend this to people, once you fund your deal, I use Shantae over at Madison. I email her right away. I send her the soft collateral file, and I give her a heads up. Hey, Shantae, got another one for you. Let's do this together, right? You're part of my team. Here you go. Give her the heads up.
Right.
And then you follow up a couple weeks later. So that's what I did on this one. I emailed her probably the same day I funded it. It was boarded on April 11th. Now, on April 12th, you'll notice Madison made contact with the borrower. And here's what I mean. So though it was boarded on the 11th, I actually think that it was probably boarded the week prior, but it didn't show up on my portal until the 11th. And here's why I think that. April 12th, the borrower called into Madison about her loan. And the reason being is because they sent the hello letter out. It prompted her to pick up the phone. And in this particular instance, the borrower had questions. Yep. How do I get caught up? I mean, this was beautiful. She called in, she had questions. So what happened, and Madison puts in their notes, they call me, the lender, and say, hey, the borrower called in. She wants to know what she can do. What are her options, right? Perfect. Whenever you have a borrower that wants to know options to stay in the home, that's a win-win, right? So at a minimum, you're looking at least making their normal monthly payment. Right. So what I do, and I don't recommend this to everybody, I actually, the next day, once I found out she called in, she had questions, and the questions were directed to the lender, me, I decided the next day, I reached out to the borrower myself. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that I do personally. I don't recommend this. If you are new at notes, don't do this.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you also have to, there's certain states where you have to have a debt collector's license to reach out to the borrowers.
Yes.
And you really need to be very careful and cognizant of the laws about debt collection.
Right.
And if you cross over that line, you're going to be in some deep trouble.
Exactly. And so my approach when I do this, so I check with Madison, I talk to Shantae, they're good with it.
Yeah.
I check with my attorney, we're good, right? But here's what I do. My goal in calling them is a couple things, right? I'm gaining intel, right? I call, right? And for the sake of this, I'll call her Linda. Hey, Linda, how you doing? This is Eric. I don't go into full detail, and I get her story. I build rapport, and I want to know what her story was, what's going on. And I ask, I know you had some questions yesterday. I'm not demanding money. I'm not rude. I'm not a jerk. I'm working with her because, again, I want to protect my investment. Mm-hmm. I want to protect actually my investor's investment.
Right.
And I want to keep the borrower in the home if possible. So in this particular situation, she was very appreciative that I reached out to her. She's a nurse. She just recently got promoted. She was going through some personal stuff, and she says, I don't know if I can make a double payment, but are you okay with a payment and a half? I said, sounds great, but you got to show me that you're serious, right? I don't want to just say sounds good and then I never hear from her again, nothing happens.
Right.
So I ask, when can you do this, right? So I can do this today. I just got paid today. So in fact, that's what happened. She sent in a payment, May 10th, it was received, $700. And then like clockwork, it was actually yesterday, June 6th, the next payment, $700. So this is a success. I didn't get rich on this. My investor isn't getting rich, but it's just a base hit. A borrower's in the home. My investor's making money. I'm making some money, and it's just a win-win for everybody.
Yes.
And all of this in, 2.5 months. And it appears that she's going to just continue making these payments. The fact that she's got this good job, I love it. So before I get into this next slide that I have up there, the reaching out to the borrower, I'm very careful about it. One of the things I do in my day job, I'm in charge of our negotiations team. I like talking to people. I'm nice to people. I want to work with people. So my approach is everything. And I think that's important. For those of you that do decide to go this route, just make sure you tread lightly, treat people with respect, and, I think you'll be okay. But for the most part, most of you should just let your attorneys, let your loan servicers take care of that for you.
Yeah, I'm kind of on that side of letting them do it for an entirely different reason. I'm not so concerned about crossing the line on the debt collection side as I am like hearing about people's hard time stories. I'll be like, don't worry about it. I'll talk to my husband, move in with us for a little while till you get, it would not work out for someone like me. So
yeah, that's true. You are a much nicer person than I am, Gail. But as a guy, I think typically I'm going to be stereotypical here. Guys love to solve problems. So if the borrower's got some issue or problem, I'm going to find a solution, right? We'll work it out. So the other thing, and I ran into Joel Markovitz a few weeks ago in Vegas at the Note Symposium. So I was talking about
I will be there too.
Conversation. And I was talking about this exact topic, and he says, yeah, that's good. You're good with that. But here's the problem, Eric. How are you going to scale? And I thought, I don't know. I haven't thought of that. It's just great now. But when I hit my 100 loan mark, I cannot be doing this. I do need to just let that go to the professionals. But at least in the meantime, I'm learning the process. I'm doing more. I'm reaching out to borrow. I'm helping. So it works for me now, but I recognize in order to scale, got to get rid of that. I got to quit talking to every borrower and just give that control to somebody else. So any questions in there, Gail? We got any questions coming up?
Yeah, actually, we have a couple of questions. Let me see here. A lot of folks are saying good morning. I'm sure this is Mr. Scott Carson tuning in from Paris. That's pretty awesome. Hi, Scott. And Stephanie. Hope you all are having fun. Donovan Lucio asks, how are you guys finding realtors and agents? Now, how do you do it? I can tell you how I do it.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
There's two primary ways. What's up, Donovan? Good to hear from you, buddy. I haven't heard from you in a while. Good to see you back. Anyways, two ways I do it. I will reach out to you guys. Who's got a real area? And that has been the best route. That has worked the best for me. Now, sometimes I'm in a market where that's not the case. I actually I go to Zillow. I click on the Find a Realtor button. I click on Go Through, and I find the realtor with the most stars. And then I make a phone call, just make a cold call. And I call them. I tell them who I am. I tell them what I do, what I'm looking for. Now, when I do this, I don't offer up money right away. I offer up this idea that I might end up having to take this house back. And if I take the house back, I'm going to give you this listing, right? Because what I'm asking for is a drive-by, a photo, and an opinion, right? A little bit of their time, not a lot. And now I've had some realtors that are, great, sounds good. I know exactly about the note business. I'm good with it. And I've had some that say, well, okay, what's in it for me? How about some payment? And I actually offered up $50 to a guy in Alabama, and he said, you know what, just for that offer, thank you. I'll refuse the money, but I'll take care of the pictures for you. And he did. So I reach out to network and I go to Zillow. Those are the two options that I do.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Gail? How do you go about it?
Well, when I was doing fix and flips, I hate to keep going back to that, but it's kind of relevant. I was having a hard time finding a realtor to work with because most realtors don't really, they don't like investors. They feel they don't understand us.
Right.
So I joined eXp Realty to have my license where I could go and do MLS deals. Well, it ended up eXp Realty's nationwide, also in Canada now. So I tend to rely on going up to the eXp board that we have to find an agent in that area. And only on one occasion, it was so remote that they didn't have an office there yet. So I ended up having to pay for a BPO, and that didn't work out real well either. But the long and short of it is I do that. I tell them, I said, look, I'm an agent, active, but that's not what I do on a regular day job anymore. So you get the listing and sales side with any deals that I do in that area. So far, it's been quite successful for me to have that opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Good. Right on. What other questions are out there? Anybody else?
Yeah. Well, actually, Scott Van de Kampen made a comment. He uses Note Pros, gives you market rents. It also tells you crime rates. I'm a subscriber of Note Pros myself, so I've used it to do a quick sweep of due diligence. And we appreciate that comment there, Scott.
What's up, Scott? How you doing this morning, buddy?
And then our other Scott Carson said, "KISS for your investors. A confused mind is no mind." He's doling out.
Keep it simple, baby.
Yeah, he's
simple. Keep it stupid simple or something.
I called him the Note Yoda last time I saw him. It's kind of true. He's always doling out his great information, and he said double digits and date me. And Laura Blunk says, "I'm with Gail. My experience as a landlord has taught me that I do not want to contact the borrower. Happy to let the servicer do it." And you're right. As far as scaling, we have to do that.
Yeah, and it's not for everybody. I fully recognize that. There will be a day where I probably stop doing it, but for now it's been working, and I'm good with it.
Clifton Sandler is asking a question that most of us kind of hold close to our vest here. What are the main strategies you guys use to get your tapes? I'm not talking. You can take that if you want.
I'll get this one. I'll handle it.
All right.
You got to hustle, buddy. Hustle.
Oh, yeah.
You got to work.
Hustle.
So, Clifton.
Send that email and make that call.
Yeah, Clifton, here's what you got to do, buddy. Network, market, make phone calls.
Yeah.
This job, this industry is not difficult. It's just a lot of work. And if you're willing to put in the time and the work, you will make things happen, my friend. So you just got to get out there and hustle.
Yeah, I find that at least, well, there's 3 days a week I reach out to folks and just call. Yeah. You know, a lot of folks are they don't like cold calling. And I was talking to my spouse about that one day, and I said, why is that? And he goes, because people don't like rejection. I'm not getting rejected. Gail is not getting rejected. What I'm offering somebody, if they call and they're not interested or they don't have anything, is not me. It's my product or service at the time that I made that phone call. Right. So don't take it personally. Move on, you know?
Yeah,
so
yeah. Well, I think they say in sales, every no, you're closer to a yes. Yeah. Another good one I like is you either win or you learn, right? Nice. So a rejection, okay, cool. No, did you say something wrong, do something wrong, or they just didn't like you? Who cares? Don't take it personal. Move on. So, all right, what else we got, Gail? Any other questions, or should I go on to my next, my final?
Well, we got a lot of folks very pleased that we're both on this morning. And Scott Van Kampen also said, it's great to see us both. So big shout out to you. Also,
he's probably talking about you, Gail. He's probably talking about you, Gail, but he had to include me too, so it's fine.
Yeah, well, I've been on every day this week, and it's kind of like, are you guys getting tired of me yet? But we also, let's take a moment to thank Miss Katie Moten for getting us on this morning.
Oh, yeah, Katie, thank you so much. Appreciate it. You are a rock star. Yeah. Thank you. I don't know the tech stuff at all.
Nah.
Let me do this, Gil. Let me finish this slide, and then we'll see if there's any other questions, and then we can kind of wrap it up because I talked about the house, the city, all these things, but let's talk about where it is right now. I mean, we can project where it's going to be, but where is it right now? So I received a principal and interest payment of $368 in May, received another one in June, yesterday. Both those payments had an additional $200 on top of it. So far in 2.5 months, we've received $1,136. Our purchase price on this was $11,500. So it was a $30 boarding, 3 months of boarding at $20. So it's $90 total. So I'm $11,590 into this thing. Income of $1,136. We all know ROI. The math formula is your net income divided by your total investment. Mm-hmm. So thus far, we have made 9.8% in 2.5 months. If they didn't make any other payments, we've already made 10%.
Right. And that's is that an annualized rate?
No, that was my next thing. That is not an annualized number. That is an ROI. That is my return on my investments. I have
in 3 months.
In 3 months. So underneath that, you see at this pay use, it would be projected on the front end at a 68% ROI. Front end. What I mean by front end is I just mean their payment. I'm not even talking about the exit when we make a chunk of money when we sell this thing, or we take it back if they stop paying. Whatever. So that's projected. There might be some hiccups along the way, but we've already made a better return than my IRA this year, or my deferred comp at work. So
that's not hard to do.
Yeah, it's great. This is why I love the note business. So I want to touch on something real quick. If you notice on my servicing fees, $30 boarding, and then if you notice, $20 a month. Well, but wait a minute. You might think, you bought this as a non-performing note. Why is it only $20 a month? Well, here's what I do, right? Just because you bought it as a non-performing note does not mean that it needs to be boarded as a non-performing note. Here's what I mean by that.
Correct.
Based on the pay history, when I did my due diligence, I had faith that this was going to be performing. And so I just boarded it as a performer. I did not necessarily need their outreach, and it worked. The hello letter was sent out. The borrower called in. Now, if there was no contact, then I would have gone to some special servicing and I would have gone a different route. Right. But I didn't need to pay that $95 a month initially because there was such a good pay history that I was treating it as performing.
Right. Yeah, that's a strategy that I use also.
Yeah.
We do have a question from Howard Marcali. Who are you using for servicing? I use Madison Management myself and Shantae Duffy.
Yeah, was that for me? A question for me?
Well, it's for both of us, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's from Howard Marcali.
Oh yeah. Howard, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Yeah, I use Madison for everything, and they've been great. I know a few weeks back somebody had asked, "Hey, what happened to them? They weren't getting back." But I know Shantae had moved her office, so there was some delay there. Not a big deal. Just and again, goes back to if you know your expectations, if you know your timelines, and you're not in a hurry or a rush, just let the process work. Do your follow-up as need be. They'll get back to you. Shantae's really good at emailing back, within 24 hours, sometimes same day, but usually a day later. Yeah. But yeah, I use Madison. I have used FCI when I on some of my JV deals with Gail Greenberg. So I did get that experience. But for now, I'm happy with Madison, and I'm happy with Shantae and my account managers, and I'm going to keep rolling with it until there's a need to change. I like keeping everything in one house. Yeah,
I do too. And I'm very pleased with their service and their follow-up and everything myself. Yeah,
totally. Works out great.
Great.
What other questions we got? I can sit here all day.
Roy Johnson made a comment. He said, "Too bad for those that reject. They're missing an opportunity." That goes both ways, Roy. That goes with investors for us, but I haven't had people say, "No, I don't want what you're asking for." I've had mostly with banks and servicers, asset managers and things where they're like, "Well, I don't have anything." And also when you call, don't deal with the big top 10 banks. They don't, half the time they don't know. I've done an informal survey with the banking contacts that I have with my businesses. My husband and I run 5 businesses, so I've got a few bank accounts. And I'll ask them, hey, just randomly, do you guys sell your non-performing notes? I mean, I know like Wells Fargo's not going to, they don't even know there's a market for that. So they certainly can't turn somebody into the bank. If it's a small bank locally, yeah. I have to really drill down deep because they'll say, oh, you mean our REO department? No. So make a lot of phone calls. You send a lot of emails. So that's what we were talking about with the
Yeah.
rejection, Roy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm gonna add one more thing to that too, is that you make a phone call, you are nobody to them. You are nobody to them. They might have, it's like I get these tape sent from Joe Schmo. I don't give him the time of day. Now,
Right.
here's what I will say. In life, if you want to be somebody, if you want to be known, if you want to be heard, you just keep at it. You just
Right.
do it. So you make a call, they hang up on you, screw you, whatever. Call back, email, something, reach out. They will eventually realize that you mean business, that you're not just some joker broker, that, hey, this is a solution for your problem, or whatever the case is. That's kind of how I got into I just got into Scott's face all the time. He probably got sick of hearing from me, and it works. If you want to be somebody, then be somebody. If you want to get in front of these asset managers, then just do it. And do it and try and keep at it. Eventually, okay, yeah, maybe they have a policy where they deny the first 3 times you call because they want to know that you called the 4th time. In the Japanese culture, you offer something to somebody, it's polite to reject it, and then on the 3rd or 4th try, then it's accepted. That's just the protocol. So you never know. You got to just keep at it.
Absolutely. We got one more comment that just came in. It's from Cody Purcell. Do you typically have a target time to exit agreed to with your JV if you get an asset reperforming? If you have a good reperformer with a JV and want to hold it indefinitely, do you typically let the JV stay in the deal, or do you buy them out and put them in a new deal?
Good question. That's all handled on the front end. So it just depends on the investor, right? It depends on the deal. And so if you have that conversation up front with your investor and you know what their goals are, and hopefully your goals are the same, then you can work that out. And here's what I mean. I like the concept of velocity of money.
Right.
And this is how I handle it with my JVs, and this is how it was handled when I had JV'd with Gail, is this. You put some money into it, you make some cash flow, but if I can then turn that into a larger sum of money and exit the deal, I'm going to jump into another deal or 2. So it's this idea of taking your $30,000, getting some money for the year, getting a good return, and then turning that $30,000 into $40,000 or $50,000, and then taking that and buying 2 and then doubling that. So generally speaking, that's my business model. That's how I do it. And it's spelled out in the JV agreement, right? It's spelled out that way. Now, if it came to be that the borrower said, I just want to keep doing the cash flow, then we'd have to work out a solution. But generally speaking, it's 50-50 JV, cash flow, sell as a reperformer, and move on.
Right. Yeah, I'm the same way with that.
Would you agree, Gail? Is that you're the same way you do it?
Yes,
yeah.
It's
you
all
really just got to know what your investor wants and have that conversation up front.
Right, because my exit strategy is also to sell the reperformer in 12 months. But if they say, I want to hold it, okay, then basically I give them an opportunity to buy me out at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I got a squirrel in the background. It's pretty cool.
You also had birds chirping. Are those orange trees?
Yeah, it's an orange tree. That's why the squirrels are up there.
Cool. I thought they were going for the hot tub myself, but
It could be. Maybe they go in the hot tub at night. I always find, beer bottles out in the morning. Maybe that's them. I don't know.
Nice. Yeah, I thought you were calling squirrel on me for a minute, so that's good.
No, I'm the squirrel. It's like I got. All right, what else we got, Gail? Any other questions, comments, concerns, complaints?
Let's see. No, I think we're good with catching up on everything. Everybody's really very complimentary to us, which is good.
Good.
But no, we're good on the question part.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all I have. I mean, I just wanted to reach out. That paying in Dayton deal was in fact paying. I wanted to put the numbers out there in that case study, and I'm excited. I got good high hopes for it moving forward. And that's all I got. Gail, you got anything else you want to add?
No, I'm really grateful that we were able to get on it. Thanks again, Katie and Eric. You did an awesome job. We have our contact information that's going to be posted into the comments section. But thank you very much. It's been very informative. You can't hear this stuff too much because you want to hear from other investors and what their perspective on how they handle deals. We can all learn from each other, and you definitely showed that this morning.
Cool. Awesome. I had a good time. Thanks, Gil. We'll be in touch. See you guys later. Take care.
All right.